no, becoming a Muslim is something very cool and beautiful and great. So, alhamdulillah, I took the final step and then embracing Islam. So then he started asking me, why you are still Muslim? Quit being a Muslim. I told him, no, I can't. Dad, you know that ever since I embraced it, I became Muslim. Did I become nuts? Did I become worse than before? He knows inside himself, it's not. I mean, his son, didn't become any worse. Then finally he goes, okay, then you are not my son anymore. So that was a very shocking statement. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Ahmed Ma'enu. My given name still is Naoki. I'm from Japan, originally from Aichi, which is the middle of Japan, and currently living in Chiba next to Tokyo and working in Tokyo. And I'm one of the 4 imams of Japan Muslim Association. Yes. My nafs ego, myself, woke up at the age of around 13 to 14 and then started asking myself, where did I come from? Where am I going to? And what am I living for? And since I was brought up in Japan, I was born and brought up in Japan, the atmosphere or the closest religion I found was the Buddhism. So I thought if I took that path of the Buddhism, especially the original path of the Buddhism, I thought I could lead to the answers for my quest. I once gave up finding truth through religions, but then I had the chance of going to Australia, Melbourne, as an exchange student for about a year. Then during my stay there, alhamdulillah, I met one Egyptian family. They treated me very nicely. So knowing them through dealing with them, my biased viewpoint against Islam slowly melted away. So, coming to the conviction with Islam, that this is the one I was always looking for. I still had fear and anxiety towards my future because I was one of those who look at Islam with biased viewpoint against. So I knew if I took the final step, coming across the red line of becoming and entering into the world of Islam and Muslims, how would I be looked at in Japanese society, in my own society? I would be looked at very strange, weird person. That was the reason which made me of coming across the final line. But then watching the film of Malcolm X gave me the last push, encouraged me, alhamdulillah. Because as Malcolm X lived his previous life as gangster and committing all kinds of sins or whatever, then seeing how beautifully, how greatly he changed his life into the life of someone like Saint, very straightforward person. And also seeing at the scenery of the Hajj, when he made a pilgrimage to Mecca, which astonished himself. So many people gathered in many places for the purpose of watching soccer or dancing or the concerts, for the purpose of having fun. But people gathering here, so many people are gathering for the sake of worshipping one God. Is there any such place other than this place? I said, no. Then I finally understood. Becoming a Muslim does not mean that you have to be a timid person. No, becoming a Muslim is something very cool, very cool and beautiful and great. So, alhamdulillah, I took the final step and then embracing Islam. So. Well, they misunderstood. Although I told my parents my story of coming to Islam from A to Z, but they misunderstood. Yeah, then that's why in the beginning there was no problem actually. But then when social issue happened in Japan, appeared, obviously that was due to some fanatic cult called Omu, those who threw the killing poison inside the subway trains of Tokyo. Although it was nothing to do with Islam, they gave a very negative, bad image against having a faith whatsoever, having a particular religion whatsoever. So then there comes matter and issue of ignorance or not knowing about Islam. They thought Islam could be same or very similar to such fanatic people. When I was wanting to take permission from my father to go study abroad in Kuwait for the sake of learning Arabic language, I was already entering a university majoring Arabic language in Osaka. Then he said no. Then he started asking me, why you are still Muslim? Quit being a Muslim. I told him, no, I can't. Dad, you know that ever since I became Muslim, did I become nuts? Did I become worse than before? He knows inside himself it's not. I mean, his son, didn't become any worse. Then finally he goes, okay, then you are not my son anymore. So that was very shocking statement. And next day I went to the masjid in Kobe, then consulted my problem with the Egyptian imam. Then he gave me a recommendation letter to Egyptian embassy to get a scholarship in Azhar University. So I posted that letter to Egyptian embassy, then went back to my parents and then sat together with my parents with all calm atmosphere. Then alhamdulillah, I found my parents okay accepting me again. So alhamdulillah. One of those is reincarnation. Reincarnation is the thought started from India. And as you know, Buddhism was the successor of the Hinduism, or even the Buddha himself was considered to be revolutionist of the Hinduism. So the reincarnation is to see that you have the spirit, you have the soul, and this soul is never going to die and remains in this world through many kinds of shapes, depending on your works, depending on what you do. So the previous life, you might have been animal or insects or whatever, and then according to your deeds here, this life, you may be different creatures. You may be a human being, or you may be different creatures after this life. And likewise, unless you reach the nirvana, unless you reach the true understanding of this whole universe, and then get out of the reincarnation circle, you continue that way. That is how the thought of reincarnation sees. So the question goes, then the numbers of people different from time to time. So if you say that the soul is keep living, keep reborn, keep giving a rebirth to another, how can you match those? And what's more was the reason which stopped me from becoming a monk, which is to separate completely from the sacred and the normal life or daily life. Yeah, they completely separate, differentiate between the life of faith and daily lives. So there you find the contradictions. Currently?
Yeah.
Now?
Generally.
Well, I would say lack of helping hands, because like I have, alhamdulillah, 5 children, but we don't have, my family, they consist, including myself, 7 people. The only Muslims amongst my families and relatives. So as the case of my wife. So we don't have hands of families to take care of.
Community.
Yes, family, or even the community. I am living in the place called Gyotoku in Chiba, where comparatively many Muslims are living. But to my eyes, Muslims are gathering at times of prayers, but for their private lives, I don't see any links or the
You don't find company
bonds. No.
in your daily life with the other Muslims so much.
Because no one is doing. There are, subhanAllah, very few stays even as Muslims. There are many people who pronounces the shahadatain, but Allah knows, God knows how they become after it, after the shahada. Because there is no system established for taking care of them afterwards, following up. There's no, and those, especially those who are coming from outside of Japan, those who are enthusiastic in dawah activities, they call people, and then when they find people giving shahada, they go after another targets without taking care of the new ones. Well, when I was still young enough, after becoming Muslim, there are very limited graduates of the Islamic studies from my elders. But because I think that was one of the reasons why I felt distant from their activities. I was not living in Tokyo, so many of them in Tokyo, and very few activities of them reached person like me. So I question myself, although they've learned and they've given the opportunity to learn the deen of Allah to the heart of youngster like myself that time, they're not doing good enough. They're not, But of course, later on, I understood that everyone has, their own life, and they're too busy for their daily lives. But that time, they're not working good enough. They're not making their best efforts or whatever. So then, if no one is going to do, I have to do it.